Well, I'd love to do Dr. Stone next, but it's not really a rom-com.
そうだ、雪村くん。なんだ、姫。私、あなたのこと好きみたい。
And much like Dr. Stone, we use real-world mathematics and science. But in this case, it's to try to prove if the main characters love each other. Spoiler alert, they do. Episode 1 gets right into the science, and it unfortunately can be a bit overwhelming, especially given how it doesn't go anywhere right away. I mean, they'll get knee-deep into an experiment, and then the science lolly will show up, tell them that they're doing it wrong, they're stupid, and then go back to playing your GameCube. I want her to step on me. It was really unfortunate that it felt like any forward progress we were making was just immediately invalidated and wrong and stupid and you're dumb, which sucks when you're in a rom-com about romance. Fortunately, by about episode 3, we get back on track and find a nice balance between actual science and rom-com shenanigans. Which, it wouldn't be a rom-com about really smart science types without our team. When you're doing an experiment on love, it'd help if you had an expert on love now, wouldn't it? Fortunately for them, they have their resident expert in the form of Kosuke, their jock soccer-playing friend. He's spent over 200,000 yen on his girlfriend and spent every night with her for the last 2 years. Except, I'm lying to you. Aika, his girlfriend, is a waifu from a visual novel, and he sleeps with a body pillow version of her every night. He is my favorite character. The sheer confidence to just go, I love 2D lines, in front of a bunch of, like, professors, doctors, people who have spent the last 4 years of their life going science, is amazing. I love it. Oh, and when asked,
この研究は一体何の役に立つのですか? めっちゃ俺の役に立ちます!
God, I love him. He's great. Oh, and him and Science Lolly? They're childhood friends. Anyway, back on track. Fortunately for this video and the rest of the group, they have Kanade, or Normal Girl, so I don't ruin her name anymore. She acts as the group's straight girl, or basically the normal perspective on everything. So when they're getting a little too lost in the weeds, she's there to rein them back in and get things back on track. Keep a close eye on her. As you may have guessed by now, this show is pretty silly and doesn't take itself too seriously. But it does have the nuts to look at you dead in the face and go, yeah, I watched Gura, what you gonna do about it? Which I just can't help but applaud, right? And it's a central theme of the show. It's, you are who you are, right? It's Kosuke, my man, loves his waifus, should probably touch some grass, and I wouldn't be shocked if he plays League of Legends. But that's just who he is. You can't hate him for it. I can't! Woo! Science 2, baby! I've spoiled it already at this point, but yes. Yukimura and Ayami, Himuro, I'm going to call her Science Girl before I pop a blood vessel. Science Girl, they love each other, and halfway through season 2, they finally have their confession scene. And yes, it's cringy that he had to whip out an Excel spreadsheet to prove that yes, he does in fact love her. But that's just the show. And afterward, you kind of can't help but wonder, it's like, we're on episode 6 out of 12. What are we doing here? Oh, it's going to be about Kosuke and Science Lolly. And you're like, okay, they're going to be next, right? The season's going to be about them getting together, and it's going to kind of end with them all getting... No. It does confirm that, yes, there is something going on here, but season 2 does not end with them. It ends with Normal Girl. We spend a lot of season 2 with Normal Girl, and sprinkled throughout are hints that not everything is okay. She has this odd insecurity about knowing martial arts, and while her obsession with being normal is a little weird, she's at least moving in the right direction, right? I mean, this guy that she's with seems pretty decent. I mean, he respects her wishes to just start off as friends, and out of that group of catcallers that he was with, he was the only one that was actually decent. I mean, it's kind of weird that he's with them to begin with. I mean, he's a science type too, right? Like, they don't really seem like groups that would mix. Anyway, it's not important right now. What is important is the double date that they go on, or octuple date that they go on, was really cute. I have a soft spot for tsunderes. Having like that full little story arc as just a single episode was incredibly satisfying to watch, and it warms my heart. Anyway, back to Normal Girl. Oh, looks like she ended up rejecting him. Oh, sorry dude, you know what? It happens. But hey, good for her. She's doing what she wants to do, and she's not doing anything because she feels like she has to. Buddy, why are you making that face? Excuse me, bro. Warning. The following episode contains violence and depictions of sexual assault or rape and may not be suitable for all audiences. Viewer discretion is advised. That is a direct quote from episode 12. And I'm warning you now, things are about to get really rough. I was visibly upset at the end of episode 11 and physically enraged by the end of episode 12. I had to pause and get up so I could yell at the TV. I was so upset. We go from a lighthearted rom-com about a kid who uses PowerPoint presentations to convey his feelings to watching a guy beat a man to death with a taser because the girl he just kidnapped rejected him. Suffice it to say, the show just does not stick the landing when it comes to the ending. And I think it'd be really easy to just be like, well, it's bad. Science tried to fall in love and ruined everything. But I do want to take a moment to discuss what it was trying to do and what I think it did okay. At the end of the day, the message of the show and the point of the scene was that you shouldn't try to force yourself to be normal because there is no normal. A point I feel like they still could have made without going to the extremes that they did. In fact, the most frustrating part about all of this is that they set it up for themselves pretty well. Season 2 has Kanade struggling with being normal. Shows itself the most when she's solving the math problem to even consider going out with this dude. I think she got a score of like 3 points. And there are other parts throughout the show where she's trying to do like the normal thing. It's like, oh, let's go do what normal people do. I really like this because it pushes itself to a moment where she starts to subconsciously realize, this isn't what I want. I don't want to do this. I don't care if it's normal. I want the blue backpack. And I feel her subconsciously rejecting him is such a great beginning of the end of her character arc, because she's not fully there. She's just beginning to realize how she feels, and I feel like ending on this would have been such a more positive finale. I mean, the main couple already love each other. Why not end the series with the main side character loving herself? We keep things on the rooftop, and we don't go further than that. I feel like it was trying to go for too dramatic of a turn too quickly, and if you keep things simmered down more, you can still have some of the more silly elements it was trying to do. Like, for example, we could still have Yukimura come in to the rescue. He's not there to physically rescue her, he's just there to support her. Kanade has just begun to understand how she feels and is starting to say how she feels, right? So he's just there to help her put her foot down, so to speak. He's being like, hey, this is what she wants. You need to respect that. I don't care if it's not what you consider normal. There is no normal. He could still break out the PowerPoint presentation to explain this, because now we've got a little bit more wiggle room in the tone for something a little bit more characteristically goofy than out of left field taser murder. Despite everything, I still think the first season and a half of this show is lighthearted, goofy fun, and you could probably still have a good time with it. And it does try to send a good message, so if you take away anything from this video and the show, if you decide to watch it or not, it's that you're fine just the way you are, right? You don't need to change for anyone, and you should love yourself. So, do that. Thank you, and goodbye. Kanade. We're doing this again. Bye!